Yes, this is John G. Sutton and Tales from the Jails. Today I'm going to talk about stupid activities and antics that the staff got up to, including me, by the way. I mean, let's not beat about the bush. I was there. I was that jailer. Anyway, uh, let me cut to the chase here. It was probably around about 1979, 79, 80, when I was working. I was on nights this night, and there was a guy on nights with me, great big fella, been a heavyweight boxer. He was an auxiliary officer though, but he was working nights with us, and he was a gentle giant really at this stage, but he never said much, and he walking around the landings as you do on nights, you know. And I thought, well, I'll have a little joke here. So when he went off doing his rounds, I got a needle and thread, which were just happened to be in the cell where I was, where we were using it as the base to sit in at night. Yeah, I got the needle and thread, and I got his jacket, his uniform jacket, off the peg where he'd hung it behind the door, and sewed his sleeves up, the end of his sleeves, sewed them up. I could sew, you see. I've been in the army, you know, and they teach you how to sew in the army because you've got to look after yourself. Anyway, so I sewed his sleeves up and hung his jacket back up on the door, and I was quite looking forward, you know, to 6:30 in the morning, 6:45 when we all got ready to go off duty. And sure enough, about 6:45, he got his jacket off the peg at the back of the door. Had to put his arms through the jacket because he wouldn't go through. He was a great big fellow. This was a great big lump of a lad, you know. He was a great big 17 stone brute of a fella, you know. And he couldn't get his arms through. And he took his jacket off again. And he looked up and saw that the sleeves had been sewn up. And of course, I was pissing myself laughing. And this other guy who was working with us, this big, huge fella turned on him and says, "You bastard, you've done this." I said, No, he didn't do it. I said, "Listen, hands up." I said, "It was me that did it. I did it for a joke, you know." "No," he said, "you wouldn't do anything like that." He said, "It's him that's done it." And he grabbed hold of this fella and started slapping him round the head. Eh, I couldn't persuade him that it was me that did it, but it was me that did it. Anyway, foolish things. Small things amuse small minds. Yeah, anyway, let me tell you this. It was lunchtime this particular day in the jail. Dinner time, I call it dinner time, yeah. About 11:30, they're serving the meals 11:45, something like that, yeah. And I went down and I was like security under the rotunda. That's where they served the meals. All those who've been in Strangeways will remember it well. There was like a series of hot plates underneath the rotunda, and that's where they served the meals for the main part of the prison. And I was down there at lunchtime, you know, just generally keeping good order and discipline. And there was a member of staff there who must have been in the last year or so of his service. He'd obviously done about 30 years, and he was probably about 55, but he looked about 75, you know. And he was stood at the side of the hot plate, and they were serving on this particular day lamb chops, you know. And they had all the lamb chops. They'd been marinated in something, and they were in a great big tray. And what he was doing, he was putting his hand into the lamb chops, picking the lamb chops out, poking the meaty bit in the middle, boom, into his gob. There was gravy dribbling all down his uniform front. And he ate the meat out and then threw the lamb chop back into the tray. Another. He must have done about 10 lamb chops while I was watching him, and the prisoners were coming up to get the food at the same time. He stood there with gravy dribbling down his thing, eating the lamb chops, and they were getting these lamb chops that got no meat in them because he gobbled them all up. I tell you, greedy, unkept, dirty old bastard. Some strange staff, I tell you. Anyway, I'll tell you another strange story. D1. You, Anybody who's been in Strangeways knows about the block. Well, it was actually located on D1, and it had a solid roof. It wasn't open like that. The rest of the wings, it was a solid roof over the top of it. And at the end of D1, there were secure cells. So there was like a cell block within a cell block. And I was down on D1 one day, and it was lunchtime, dinner time, call it about 11:45, something like that. And on the menu for that day was soup, and so people were having soup, and this guy, this great big fat jailer, he must have been at least 20 stone, big wobbly bellied bastard. He lifted the tureen of soup off the hot plate and put it onto the floor. Great big 2-3 gallon tureen of soup, put it onto the floor. Unzipped his trousers, flopped his todger out, and pissed into the soup. I says, what are you doing this for? What's this all about? He says, that'll teach the bastards. I says, what are you going to teach them? I said, nobody's going to know this. Shut up. Don't tell me to shut up, so, dangerous people down there. And then he proceeded to serve the soup to the prisoners as they came out. Seriously. Why do that? I couldn't understand it. And D1, it was a strange place. There was a guy down, prisoner on D1, who was he was obviously mentally unstable. He wasn't right. He attacked staff, he attacked prisoners. There was no rhyme or reason to what this guy had done. And I spoke to him. You shouldn't speak to the inmates on D1 because the staff operated what's known they call the silent system. No speaking to prisoners, but I had to speak to him because I was a hospital officer. About his medication. And he said, no, boss, no. He says that there's pink mice, green mice, blue mice all running around my cell. He said, I can't stand it, This is really strange, because obviously we all know what colour mice are, mousy coloured. So I had to make a report on this, and I reported this to the duty doctor, and he was seeing him anyway, and he referred him to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist saw this guy and said, listen, if he's having hallucinations like this, it's unsafe for him to maintain in ordinary location. He's got to be taken to hospital, and he was sectioned under the Mental Health Act and taken away. Of course, the staff on D1 were pissing themselves laughing about this. And I says, this really isn't all that funny, this poor lad, he's insane, They said he's not insane, we've been painting the mice. Seriously. What the staff had been doing was catching mice, getting some paint from the art class, because they had an art class in the prison, and they were catching the mice and painting them different colours. Green mice, blue mice, pink mice, white mice, then putting the mice into this poor bloke's cell, and he actually thought that he was insane and he was hallucinating. So did the doctors. So this poor bloody guy ended up in bloody Rampton or somewhere like that because the staff were taking the piss. We know who was really insane there, don't we? Not this poor prisoner. Bloody staff. Weird, isn't it? They had a thing down D1. If you've ever been down D1 as a prisoner, they had this thing about you only could walk on the dark tiles, the black tiles at the side of the thing. You couldn't walk in the middle on the white ones. And they used to shout at you and rant at you. Basically, the staff just used it as an excuse to administer instant discipline. If you call battering people up and down the landing discipline, I call it brutality. But that's what they did. Anybody who'd been down there will definitely remember that. Walk on the left, walk on the right. And it was just a regime that they'd invented. And they invented this to actually torment the prisoners. And it was supported by the government. He knew all about this. Everybody knew all about this. Tales from the jails. Yeah? You don't know how lucky you are that you're not down D1. Believe me.